you're a woman right now, you're probably thinking, oh, here they come again, all these men. But hear me out, and you see that this is something that you women have to be in the forefront of preaching against. The lady you see, circle, you see that I've put some indication on the particular lady. Okay, I'm sitting on the left side of the bus. She's sitting on the outer uh, line, but there's a guy on the inside line. And what happened was, on this day, I was headed to Ikeja, and I'd gotten into the bus. The bus was like one quarter full, so there were plenty of seats. So people were coming in and taking up their seats. They would tap in with the cards. We use the cards now, the BRT, okay, and they would tap in with the cards and take a seat. Then at a point, the bus began to fill up. So this lady came in, another man stepped into the inner seat, and then she sat on the outer one, the one next to the aisle. And I mean, other than that, I didn't take any notice of her. And later on, as the bus was getting full, another lady came in. I didn't see her when she did. All I saw was her back. By the time she was speaking with the lady, she just walked up to the lady. Oh, by the way, this lady and the other man are sitting in a place that's normally reserved for pregnant women. All right, you see this, the chairs, they're actually painted yellow. If you've been in the BRT, you know what I'm talking about. There are usually those yellow seats that they are reserved for people like that, people that are pregnant, and I think there are even there's some kind of seats also reserved for people that are a bit handicapped. So this lady walks up with a big stomach. She's pregnant, and apparently talks to this man and this woman, requesting that one of them give her access to be able to sit in that place, because that's where it's reserved for. And apparently they said no, or they didn't respond at all. So she walked off to the back of the bus to sit in one of the back seats, which is actually extremely, in my opinion, uncomfortable. Would be extremely uncomfortable for someone who's so big like that with her tummy. And the lady who was loading the bus, one of the officials of the BRT, came into the bus when she saw that, and just took them or called them out and told the man and the woman, look, that place is normally reserved for people who are pregnant. Now that lady asked you to let her sit there, and you guys refused. What is the reason why I did? And the man responded, "Oh, then she should have been more polite. She should have been polite if she wanted us to listen to her." Then the woman said, "Well, she wasn't here when I came here, so since she wasn't here and I got here before her, I can't give up the seat for her." Those were not their exact words, but that was that's the summary of what they were saying. At this point, the woman then, of course, challenged them and said, "That's ridiculous," And there was a back and forth. Ultimately, both of them refused to budge. So the woman had already gone to sit somewhere else, and we were all good. So we began to move. The bus took off. No, and I looked around when all this was happening, and I looked in the faces of others. There was a lady seated just in front of me, but to the right, near the aisle. I was on the inner line of seats, and there was a man in front of me and a man to my right. I looked at everybody. I looked at the people around. Though people gave each other some funny stares, but it was like, okay, well, I'm not going to be one to talk about this. There's something some people used to say when we were in school, and we call them as "Ibonpe teacher." I'm not going to be the one that's going to go get quoted as saying that the teacher's mother died. It's like I'm not going to be the one that'll say this thing that most people are afraid to say. And I told myself, this is an opportunity here to drive home a very valid point that will open people's eyes to the hypocrisy of many of these so-called women advocates, these feminists and all that. Because at the end of the day, the so-called movement of enlightened modern women, this is where you see the contradictions in the message they're passing. So after I just looked around, I saw that nobody was going to say anything. I thought to myself, this is ridiculous. What they've just did is extremely despicable. And I said, I'm not going to let this go. So I just said, and you are sitting down there. These were the things I said to her. I took her, of course I could have taken the man out, but it was more important to address the behavior of the woman, because you would say, in my opinion, oh, it's expected of a man. They are typically like that. They never, they're so chauvinistic, blah, blah, blah. So we expected that from him. He didn't act out of character, in quote, for a man that's not a man doesn't have the integrity to behave in a proper manner. But look at the woman. This lady wasn't pregnant. I told her, I said, and you are sitting there. A woman who is pregnant comes up to you. You are a woman. You, a woman, did this to another woman that is pregnant in her most vulnerable state. And you, who are a woman, refuse to get up for her so that she could sit down in a place that is actually designated for someone in her condition. And yet you sit down there and you let her go and sit in the back. Why? What is wrong with you? I told her, I said, if anybody had told me that this kind of thing will happen, I would have not believed this. I just shouted, unbelievable that you can actually say no, or if I completely ignore a fellow woman. This is unbelievable. And I said, do you realize that this is the kind of thing that if it was a man had done it, by now everybody will be singing all kinds of terrible songs and accusing him of so many things and saying that's the way men behave. But here you are, a woman, doing this to another woman. Oh my God. I told her, I said, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I said, the worst part is this. Next time, if you turns out that you are the one that's pregnant and you go into a bus or wherever else and a man refuses to give you or concede a position to you or let you have access to a place that you know you need access to and you deserve to be given access to, because you then make a big issue of it. You are the kind of person with all these your feminist campaigns, you women, you're supposed to be together, but you are actually not together. So look at the contradiction of what you've done. Normally women will say, because at the end of the day, you look at it and say, you are supposed to be a woman looking out for another woman. Okay. But here you are doing the exact opposite. How do you explain that? That's why it said that it is only when it is convenient that women gang up together. That's when it's against men. But amongst yourself, you don't have any unity. There's a lot of hypocrisy. Look, when a woman is going to date somebody who is married, she should know, it's common sense that she should know that she's about to hurt another woman, because the woman she's married to is a fellow woman. Now, why would you do that? Why would you go and date a man that you know is married with kids when you know he has somebody at home who's just like you and who would love to keep her man to herself? And yet you go ahead and you date the woman, you break the home, and then you say you are speaking for women. You say you love women, you say you love each other, but the things you do every day show that actually you only love yourselves. So I just blasted her so much, and I said, look, I have 2 daughters, and I don't ever want my daughters to be like you. You're just such a disappointment. I said many other things, but by the time I was saying most of these things, a lot of guys were, some ladies were looking at me, some were getting off from their seats to look at me. I didn't even care. Then the man next to me began to speak out and say, yes, it's true. That's what they say. And then they would say they are women feminists. I said, that's my point. They will say they're feminists. But yet, when the time comes for them to act it out in relation to themselves, when it concerns 2 of them, they don't. Now, when I finished my rant, this woman did not bat an eyelid. She did not raise her head. She just kept looking at her phone. But the man next to her, the man with whom she had done the nonsense, got up. I guess he couldn't take it. After a few minutes, he got up, went to the back, spoke to the woman that was pregnant, told her to go and sit in his place. And the woman came and sat in his place. This woman got up for the woman to go into the inner seat. Still didn't say anything to the woman. Didn't apologize to the woman. Didn't raise her head. Said not a word. Till we got down for that bus while we were discussing the matter with the other people in the bus. She never said a word. And she was clearly not repentant. Those are the women that are talking about women being better than men. Women can do everything a man can do. Women are superior to men. Women are more mature than men. Oh, if you give women control of the world, they are too bloody emotional, in my opinion. And this is proof of it. They cannot use logic to engage you. That's proof of it, because it's simple common sense and it's quite logical. You are not supposed to be there. You are not meant to use that seat. A fellow woman who deserves to be there comes to you. Not a man, a woman who deserves to be there comes to you, and you refuse to give up the seat and you justify it. Then you stand your ground and dig in until a man who should not even understand as well as you that this woman who is pregnant needs that kind of concession. A man has to be the one to get up to give the space to the woman. So who is better? We like to deceive ourselves a lot, but I refuse to let the women deceive me. It's not all women that are guilty of this. Like I always say, there's always an exception to the rule. But believe me, I've seen this act itself out a lot, locally and internationally, in different societies. Generally, women, especially black women, they are a walking contradiction. A walking contradiction. And we need to make a change in that.